I welcome you all to the Messiah Revelation Ministry, which is an end time and prophetic ministry. We prepare the world for the coming of the Messiah. The signs are there. The prophecies in the Bible are being fulfilled. It will be too late for you to wait for the final fulfillment of the prophecies. It will be too late for you to hear the final trumpet sounding before you prepare. It will be too late when you see the Messiah coming on the clouds of heaven and you are not prepared. You need to discern the time that we're in. You need to discern the movement of the kings of the earth. Anytime the leaders of the world meet, anytime the billionaires of the world meet, anytime the elites meet, anytime secret societies meet, you need to be able to discern the time that we're in and why they are meeting. And so today we are talking about when the kings of the earth meet, when they gather. It means they are plotting the kingdom of the beast. The time of the beast is now. The time of the Antichrist is now. We are in the final hours, in the last days, and we need to be able to monitor what the kings of the earth are doing. They are doing that in secret, and prophecy is being fulfilled. And so today we are focusing on the kings of the earth. And in our time, the kings of the earth, they meet, whether they meet at the G7, G20, whether they meet when they meet secretly in Switzerland under the auspices of the World Economic Forum, whether they meet under the auspices of BRICS, whether they meet at the United Nations in New York. And today we are focusing on the meeting of the General Assembly that occurred in September 19 September, in September of 2023, the meeting of the General Assembly of the United Nations, the meeting of the leaders of the United Nations in New York in September 2023. Why should we be concerned? We should be concerned because the United Nations is a Luciferian organization, an organization that was created purposely to usher in the New World Order. And don't let anybody fool you. They will say that the United Nations was established to promote peace and prevent the occurrence of a major war. But you should not be deceived. It's a Luciferian organization, and in the last days, it will be used by Lucifer and his agents to plot the kingdom of the beast that is about to come. And why do we have to worry about the kings of the earth? Let's look at the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 19, verse 19. Revelation 19:19. John speaking about the kings of the earth. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. So here, John is describing an end time event, and he said he saw the beast, he saw the Antichrist, and with the Antichrist were the beasts, the agents of the beast, the kings of the earth, and they had gathered together with the Antichrist to make war against the Messiah. So this is an end time event. The beast, the Antichrist, he will gather with the kings of the earth. And the purpose of that gathering is to make war with the Messiah, Jesus, Yeshua. And that's the purpose of the kings of the earth. And so when you see leaders meeting like that, you have to look at prophecy and see what they are doing. So let's focus on the United Nations. They are meeting in New York City in 2023, September 2023. New York City is a city that has a symbolic and prophetic role to play in the end times. It is the seat of the meeting of the kings of the earth, and it is a city that is in Babylon, America. It is a major city, and it is a city that will be used by the beast to plot the new world order, to plot the rebellion against the Most High. And in September 2023, the kings of the earth, under the auspices of the United Nations, met in that city, New York City, in Babylon, United States. And the agenda is very prophetic. They are talking about mandatory vaccinations, global vaccinations. They are talking about global digital identification systems, and they are talking about sustainable development goals. What is sustainable development goals? In 2015, the United Nations came with what they call SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 goals that the United Nations plan to achieve, and quote unquote, they are goals that are important in achieving what they call sustainable development. It is a mockery of God, and they are saying that the world is not sustainable, and so they have to plan to create sustainable development, and they have 17 goals. And definitely the goals are goals that were plotted by the kings of the earth, and it is part of the new world order. No, Novus Ordo Seclorum, new world order. The sustainable development goals is part of the new world order, and academicians and policy experts, they deceive you, and you have to look at the sustainable development goals as part of the new world order, and the intentions are demonic, the intentions are questionable, they are Luciferian in nature. You see the kings of the earth worshiping the environment instead of worshiping the creator of the environment. And that's what they are doing with the so-called sustainable development goals. And so in 2023, we have to look at the agenda on the table of the kings of the earth who met under the auspices of the United Nations in New York City. Globalized vaccinations, what is the intent when the kings of the earth demand that people in the world have the V, vaccination, global vaccination, and what is inside the vaccines, and what is the purpose of the global vaccination? Why is vaccination important? Is it to avoid pandemic? And the pandemic, who created those pandemic, and for what purposes were the pandemic created, and why the need for global vaccines? Is there any agenda behind it? And is it part of a policy to control global population? Is it part of a policy to usher in the new world order? And that is the question that we need to ask when the kings of the earth discuss global vaccination. And the next agenda on the table of the kings of the earth, 2023 September in New York City, is digital identification, a global identification system. Why are they demanding global digital identification system? Is it to improve human communication? Is it to ensure that the world is being controlled? It's easier for the world to be controlled. Global digital identification system definitely is part of the creation of a surveillance state. He who is able to identify you, he who is able to know who you are and have information about you, is able to monitor you and to put you under surveillance. And so when we're talking about global identification system, digital identification system, we are talking about global monitoring system, global identification system. And why is it important? It's important because the beast, the Antichrist, should be able to monitor the world in order to control the world. The assignment has already been given to the beast. And the assignment is in Revelation 13, verse 7. So let's look at Revelation 13, verse 7, talking about the beast. Revelation 13, verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So you see, the Antichrist is given power over all languages, all kindreds, all tongues, and all nations, and to overcome the saints. And so if you are able to identify the people dwelling on the earth through a digitalized identification system, if you're able to monitor them, then you'll be able to control the world. The prophecy is that the beast is given power, or will be given power, over all nations, over all tongues. And so global identification system is a monitoring system for all nations: Chinese, Japanese, Africans, Americans, Europeans, and Arabs, Muslims. Global identification systems. And the kings of the earth, under the auspices of the United Nations, will agree. They will have to agree because the Lord will put it in their mind to agree to fulfill prophecy. The beast system is part of prophecy. The Lord will come. It is a final period of rebellion. The beast system is the final period of rebellion by Lucifer against God, that will trigger the final war, that will trigger the final judgment, that will trigger the end of Lucifer and his agents. And so it is part of prophecy. The pieces are being put together. The Luciferian organization, United Nations, they will plot the new world order to give their power to the beast. And as we saw in Revelation 19:19, John saw the Antichrist, the beast, and with him were the kings of the earth, and they were gathered to wage war with the Messiah, Yeshua Jesus Christ, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the man sitting on a horse. And so in 2023, this is what you see as part of the agenda. 2023 agenda of the United Nations is the Sustainable Development Goals. And as part of the so-called Sustainable Development Goals, they are plotting to have sustainable cities, and they are using 14 cities in America as a pilot. They are using the cities as guinea pigs to create what they call sustainable cities, 14 of them, and they are creating what they call 15-minute cities. You can Google and see what they mean by 15-minute cities. A city where you will be restricted. If you live in that city, you'll be restricted. You'll be restricted in your movement. You cannot go far from a 15 minutes drive. And so you'll be confined to a radius, and it is what they are doing. They are planning to use the 15-minute cities as a way of confining people to specific geographic locations. Is it an apartheid system? You can probably look at it as a global apartheid system where people will be segregated, their movement will be confined. They are calling it 15-minute cities. It's part of the so-called sustainable development goals. There's going to be a time where the carbon that you consume will be measured and you pay for it, and you'll be restricted in the consumption of carbon. The Lord created the universe, created carbon, created the air we breathe, the water that we drink. But the Luciferian system is manipulating creation to satisfy the manifesto of Lucifer, to satisfy the mandate of the beast. The beast is given power over all nations, all kindreds, all tongues, and will wage war against them. And he's using the kings of the earth. I don't care whether they are presidents, I don't care whether they are CEOs, whether they are pastors, they are researchers. These are the kings of the earth. And the United States is leading the world in the New World Order. Joe Biden said it. He said America will lead the world in the creation of the New World Order. And the Luciferian organization located in Babylon, America, is part of the structures to initiate the New World Order. And so when they met in September 23 in New York City. On the agenda was globalized vaccine system, digitalized identification on a global scale, and the implementation of the so-called sustainable development goals. That means worshiping the environment. That means restricting how the planets will be controlled, defining how the planet will be controlled, restricting consumption, including the consumption of carbon, and also confining people to certain geographic locations by creating special cities where you will be confined to 15 minutes drive. And there will be a time that you will own nothing. They are mocking you. They are saying a time will come where you will own nothing and you will be happy. So they are going to create happiness, pursuit of happiness, happiness in global materialism, happiness in abominations, and they are rebelling against God. And so, as part of the agenda of the kings of the earth, they are talking about gender equality. Gender equality, it means equality of genders. It means recognition of same-sex marriage. It means recognition of transgenderism. And so you see the mocking of God. You see abomination on a global scale, and it is being perpetrated by the kings of the earth. And so when you see the United Nations meeting, and you have to see that in the context of prophecy, where the beast will use the kings of the earth to promote the agenda of Lucifer in the last days. If you have not accepted the gospel, this is the time for you to do so. We are approaching the era of the beast, the Antichrist, the man of lawlessness, the son of perdition. And when you see the kings of the earth meeting in Babylon, United States, talking about measures that are integral part of the new world order, you have to see the days that we are in, the perilous time that we are in, the last days that we are in, and the days that are gloomy. It is important for you to discern the time that we are in. Subscribe to the channel. I'm leaving the links of the video in the description box. Thank you for watching this